Picture this. It's a new morning, not unlike any other morning you've had in recent months. You wake up, roll over, kiss your husband, get out of bed, wash your face, then you lovingly wake your children to prepare for school. As everyone is getting ready to start their day, you go into the kitchen, put on a pot of coffee, and begin making breakfast for your crew. As the house fills with the smells of fresh brewed coffee and bacon, your family begins to make their way into the kitchen. You all enjoy a quick breakfast as you discuss the important tasks for the day, and then moments later, it's time for your husband and children to leave. You kiss your family, you tell them you love them, ensuring them that you will miss them and wait for their return. Your husband will drop the kids off at school on his way to work, and you begin the tasks of cleaning the house and running errands that help keep your lives running smoothly and efficiently. Before you know it, the kids are coming in from school because their grandmother has picked them up. You give them their snacks and send them to their rooms to begin their homework. And as you chat with your mother-in-law, you put the chicken you prepared earlier in the oven, because in about 45 minutes to an hour, your loving husband will be home and ready to eat. This is the routine. It is how your life has run for the past 3 years. As you sit and chat with your mother-in-law, sipping tea and waiting on your husband, you mention how wonderful life is and how appreciative you are for her raising such a wonderful mate. An hour passes and you take the baked chicken from the oven and begin setting the table. After setting the table, you return to the family room to continue your conversation with your mother-in-law, expecting your husband to walk in at any moment. 30 minutes passes, and your husband hasn't come home yet. You mention it to your mother-in-law, and you both write it off as maybe he's stuck in traffic or had to work over a little, and surely he'll be home soon. To be sure, you give your husband a quick call, but you get his voicemail. So you leave a short voice message and a text message and wait for him to return your call. Another 40 minutes passes. Your husband still isn't home, nor has he responded to your call. By this point, both you and your mother-in-law are slightly concerned because this is very unusual for your husband, and so you both decide to call your husband's office. Luckily, one of the partners is still in the office and tells you that your husband left promptly at 5 o'clock. He makes a bit of small talk and tells you that your husband mentioned that it was baked chicken and that he couldn't wait to get home to eat because you're an awesome cook. You thank him for the information and hang up. Now, you're both really beginning to worry. Before either of you can make another phone call, there's a knock at the door. You check the security camera and realize it's a close family friend who works for the local fire department. As you open the door, you can tell he's been crying. Immediately, your heart sinks and you feel like you're going to faint as he asks you to come in and have a seat. You gesture for him to sit, and you take a seat next to your mother-in-law, who is also very visibly shaking. You break the awkward silence in as cheerful a voice as you can muster, and you ask him, "So what made you stop by?" He looks down at the floor, then back up at you and your mother-in-law. He takes a deep breath and begins to tell you about an emergency call he responded to an hour ago. He tells you about how difficult it was to identify the vehicle in the wreckage, and that it wasn't until 45 minutes into the rescue that he learned that he personally knew one of the people involved. At this moment, he begins to cry as he apologizes for not being able to save his friend, and that he hated being there telling them all of this, but he didn't think that they should hear it from anyone else. You and your mother-in-law are both shocked and in disbelief, so much so that you're trying to tell yourselves that the story this man has just told you is about someone other than your husband and her son. You try to comfort the friend and let him know that everything is okay, when suddenly he just flat out says, "Your husband is dead." And just like that, in a matter of seconds, your life changed forever. A couple of days pass, and you're heavy with grief and working to arrange your husband's burial when you come across a life insurance policy he had taken out on himself unbeknownst to you. The policy is worth $500,000, and there's a business card attached to it. Confused, you call the number of the agent on the card, and once the agent answers, you introduce yourself and tell her you're calling about a policy you found in your husband's files. You tell the agent that you were unaware that any such policy had been purchased. You inform the agent that your husband has passed, and you ask if the policy is real. The agent asks for the policy number to verify the information, and after a couple of seconds of silence, she tells you that the policy is indeed real and that it was only one of two 15-year term policies your husband had taken out 4 years prior. The agent goes on to explain that your husband owned another policy valued at $1 million and that you are the beneficiary to both policies. Dumbfounded, you find yourself speechless. As you are trying to find the words to say, the agent informs you that your husband had asked her to give you a message should you ever have to call her. Curious, you ask what that message was, and the agent tells you that your husband left clear instructions on how he wanted you to use the policy. He said $500,000 is for the coverage of the mortgage. Take the proceeds from that policy and pay off the house. If there's anything left, please take a vacation. Now, as for the $1 million policy, I want you to be comfortable while you continue to raise our beautiful children. I hate I had to leave so soon, but I hope this helps ease the pain. I love you. Heartbroken, you break down into tears. The agent is patient as she allows you to feel your emotions. After a few moments of silence, she asks, "Would you like for me to help you begin the claims process?" Her question brings you back to the business at hand, and you reply, "Yes." You and the agent proceed to filing the claim, and once the call is over, you feel an overwhelming sense of love. The feeling is so overwhelming that it has overpowered the grief that you were feeling prior to making the call. You begin to reflect on the wonderful life you had with your husband, how he worked hard with you to provide a financially stable and peaceful home while he was alive, and now, even after death, he was making sure you had provisions to maintain the life he had built with you. You already knew there was a significant savings account with which you could afford to pay for his funeral and burial and live okay for at least 2 years before you had to find work to try to keep up with everything. But here, you realize your husband had planned to leave you enough money to live well, even if he was no longer able to be here with you. And he did it in the same year that you were married.